potential danger.
Hello guys, we've gathered top settings, tactics, strategies, and secret maneuvers, including expert insights that will transform your defensive game to legendary. And at the end of this tutorial, you're going to leave your opponent scratching their head and questioning their tactics. Let's get started. This is something that was actually added this year. Advanced defending actually gives you the opportunity to choose between a shoulder badge or a tackle. Now, solar badge are also called sellouts, so it depends on what you want to do. So you will be the one to pick the animation at the right time you want. Pass block assistance is on. Auto switching on hair ball and loose ball, and I like my switching move assistance to be low. This way, I get to like select what I want, how I want it. And the right stick switching reference is player relative. A lot of people have been complaining about their right stick switching this year, and this is actually something key. The higher the sensitivity, the more the game will respect your directional input when selecting the next player. The lower the sensitivity, the more likely the game is to select a player in closer proximity, even if the direction is not pointed directly at them. And the one I like the best is these three. It gives me a perfect balance of computer obeying my direction and actually giving me the player I want. The next player switching, we didn't have this last year. So there are three options now. We have the classic, the goal side, and the closest to the ball. Now the classic is the settings we had last year. This closest to the ball and goal side are these new options that they brought. And this is what I'll actually recommend if you're trying to go for the feel of FIFA 23 in terms of right stick switching and player switching and all that. For the custom defensive tactics, the defensive style is going to be balanced. We need everything balanced. The width, we're going to work within the width of 25 to 35. This is so that our fullbacks can be very close to the edge of our box and leave no space between our central backs and the fullbacks. There are spaces between the central backs and the fullbacks are spaces attackers exploit, especially opponents that uses 4-4-2. So you want to make sure your width is between 25 to 35. However, the smaller your width is, the more narrow your team becomes, and then they could easily pass around the wide area. So I prefer to go with the 35. For depth, we're going to work with 65. This is going to be in the middle of our zonal marking, and we're not going to be pressing aimlessly, and then we're not going to sit deep because we don't want the opposition to be eating us in our box all the time. So we want to actually keep the battles in the midfield. For player instructions, if you're still struggling with defending, it's advisable you don't attack with too many numbers. You keep enough numbers at the back so that in case you're under counter, you can respond better defensively. So the rule of thumb suggests you attack with 5 players and defend with 5 players. So we're going to make sure we have 5 players at the back at all times, and we have to give them the instruction of stay back at all times. So we're going to give our 2 central backs the instruction of staying back at all times. Our 2 full backs are going to stay back at all times, and also our defensive-minded midfielder, which here is Declan Rice, will stay back while attacking. Now, it's also very important for us to understand that our DM's defensive behavior has to be the cut passing lane, then the interception has to be aggressive. Yes, I know people don't usually do this, but the interception has to be aggressive. Our right back, left back, defensive minded midfielder, and our both central backs, all of them on aggressive interceptions. The reason why they're on aggressive interception is just to help you cut out those passes as early as they can. And you have to understand that the more the stats of these players in terms of interception, the easier it is for you to intercept passes, cut out passing lane, and all that. So this is the player instructions required to actually keep a very good defense. If you have watched my defending cutback tutorial, you would know how partial press work. Now, this is how you activate a partial press. You tap the R1 button and then you let it go and then you hold it immediately. Now, it's advisable to hold it for 2-3 seconds max. If not, your players will get tracked off out of position. Now, this is the key to tracking your opponent's triggered runs. With these, a player will be assigned to every player making the most dangerous run around the ball. So you will trigger this and hold it while trying to use a manual player, control the player manually to try and block other key areas the opponent could exploit. Most importantly, You do not want to lose gaze of what is happening on and off the ball. You don't want to lose gaze of the runs, and at the same time, you don't want to lose track of the player on the ball because the opponent could just dribble around and just leave you in the dust, and then it wouldn't actually matter much. But combining these two is actually very important to getting it right. In a minute, why exactly do you panic when the opponent is in your box? It's not too different from defending outside the box. And at the end of the day, it's just a game. So no one is going to debit your account for conceding a goal. So calm down. Just keep on mirroring your opponent's movements. When the opponent exposes the ball, go for a tackle. Use your right stick switching effectively and also use teammate press accordingly. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to isolate your defenders, most especially your center backs. Leaving your center backs isolated in one-on-one situation with an attacker can easily lead to an attacker creating a shooting angle, and you do not want that. The whole aim of this is to stop shots coming at your goalkeeper. You do right stick switching by flicking the right stick in the direction of the player you intend to give your cursor from the one that currently has the cursor. Right stick switching is an endless activity. You have to keep switching from one player to the other player just to cover up space, cover passing angles, cover shooting lane. It's an endless process. As long as the opponent still have the ball, you have to have the mindset that you're going to be constantly switching to the better player to put you in better position while defending. Always use your control player to cut out passing lanes. The aim is not to get the ball, the aim is to stop limit your opponent's options first. Let's take a look at some defensive playstyles. We did not have playstyles in the previous year, so this is something new that was added to FC24. Now, for me, I think my center backs should have anticipate, jockey, and block playstyles. Now, the anticipate is to enable them to tackle better. Block is for them to stop shots from going towards my goalpost. And the jockey is for them to mirror my opposition's movement easily without getting dragged out of position and overcommitting. Now, this play styles is going to help you defend better. You need to select center backs and defenders that have the appropriate play styles. Now, let's take a look at some scenarios and let's analyze it defensively. Remember, we set in our instructions earlier to leave 5 players at the back while attacking. This is what helps us to contain this attacking scenario because otherwise, this would have been a disastrous counter attack against us. But because we have enough numbers at the back, we're able to hold them down till all our players are able to fall back. Also, it helps to keep your wingers on comeback defending phase. In this scenario, my opponent have 3 options. Is that he takes me to the byline and try and look for a cutback. 2, dribble his way, or try and pass to the player on the far right with a cross. When defending scenarios like this, the first thing you have to cut out is the easiest way for your opponent to score, which is that cross we just talked about. So I have to move my players in position to block it. So I used teammate content press to bring my other center back close to the action, and that nullified that chance. Now, here, our opponent is trying to move around in our box, but we actually remain calm by just trying to block the available passing options and shooting angles. Here, when the ball is exposed, we just went in for the shoulder badge, also called the seal out. When you actually retrieve the ball in your box, you have to be very careful of the next pass you make so you don't give the ball back to the opposition. Oh my gosh! Now, this means we get to go back to our defending again. So we're just going to do the same thing we did earlier. Use our controlled jockey, use our sprint jockey when necessary, call for backup with our teammate content press, and then just keep mirroring the opponent movement until they get sloppy and expose the ball, and then we'll take it away from them. When you're defending in the box, the aim is to cut out opponents' shooting angle and prospective passing lane that could hurt us and result into us conceding a goal. Do not rush anything, just be patient. And also, when you're using your jockey in the box, tilt the left stick slightly. Do not just keep pressing the left stick up, down, left, right. It will drag your defenders out of position. You tilt it in slight movement to mirror the motion of the opposition and keep a good distance and make sure you are covering very good angles too, so that your defenders can block the shot in case the opposition wants to shoot. Remember, do not give away silly penalties this year. Thank you. Penalties are much more harder to save this year because you now have to guess in 5 directions compared to the 3 we were doing last year.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.